The white man came with a Bible, very friendly. Came with songs, very friendly. But he also came with taxes. And Kenyatta was being supported by a majority, including the father of Raila Odinga. That's the one man who refused to take any position until Kenyatta is released. But the same problem that came to Aluo, Joseph, Thomas, Boya, also came to J.M. Kariuki. J.M. Kariuki was not Aluo. My names are Jason Haiyae Njenga. Haiyae is my father. I was born in 1953, June 22nd. It was a Monday morning. I've looked at the calendar of years and I've seen that I was born on a Monday morning. My parents were Wallace Haiyae Wakahu, who initially was a member of the Salvation Army. And my mother, Winnie Kaboi Wamboi Kihara, from Gachege, Kamunyaka in Gatundu, is my mother. And I'm the second born in the family. The firstborn is my elder sister, Margaret Wanjiru. She lives in Ruiru. My other brother is in Gatundu, and we lost the last brother. So we are two brothers and two sisters as a family.
The name Haiyae,
yes,
is an rather interesting and unusual Kikuyu name.
Yes.
Could you tell us where it comes from?
I equally got very much interested in that name because of people calling me. Even if I told them I'm Jason Njenga, they would always call me Haiyae because they found it interesting. In fact, they would joke with it. They would break it into two. Haiya, Haiya, So now it is a surprise because when you're surprised, you say Haiya, it's going to be like this. So now they would add it. But when I inquired from my father, he told me that we've got some Maasai blood in us. My great-grandfather, Wakapu, during their incursions with the Maasais of Narok, he managed to win the battle. And what used to happen is that they would never kill women, they would never kill children, and they would take the women captive. So my great-grandmother, Korianoi, is the one who gave the name Haiyae to our family.
Oh, very, very interesting. Could you describe the village where you were born?
I was born at a place called Hawatavi in Gadaite, in Darugo location, Gatundu division of Kiabu district. Now, during the colonial times when I was born, the entire region was referred to as Mangu. Anybody coming from anywhere between Thika, Ruiru, Gatundu, Kiamba, Lemuru, all that they used to say is from Mangu. But Mangu name came to prominence because of Mangu High School, a good school, famous school, which was started by the missionaries, priests around Gatundu. This is a very famous school. That is where I think Kibaki went school, that's where Michuki went school, and many others, including the late dawn of students, Wanjui, J.B. Wanjui. So it used to be a wonderful and great school, institution, and everywhere around there now was being referred as Mangu. But what it was initially was a big mission. And there were about three. We had a mission in Karinga mission, we had a mission in Katanga, we had a mission in Kiriko, Katanga, and then Mangu. So all that area now became referred as to Mangu. Now, I was born during emergency. Actually, 8 months after emergency was declared in 1952, October 1952. So, as a young person, as a young child, obviously, you're attached to your mother because of breastfeeding, because of being kept warm by your mom every time you're with your mom. So my life has centered around my mother. The other reason why my life has centered around my mother is that my father was detained early in life. And my father was a religious person. He had converted into William Booth's Salvation Army, and he grew up in the region, fearing God, working for charity, preaching, mainly in Rift Valley and Western Kenya. And the colonists caught up with him in Kaimosi mission. And he was arrested for spying for Mau Mau terrorists. I think he was detained in 1955.
Okay.
Yes. Mau Mau started, the emergency started in 1952. 3 years later, he was detained.
So in 1955, your dad gets arrested.
Yes.
And now, I wanted you to discuss a little bit about your father and what you know about his background as a Christian, specifically Salvation Army Christian, bearing in mind that there were not too many people in the region joining the Salvation Army, because the religion, the dominant religion, denomination at that particular time was, I would say, Kikuyu Independent Church.
Right.
And then, of course, the other churches like, CMS,
Yes.
and, AIM, and,
Yes.
and the Catholic Church, of course.
Yes.
So how did he end up as a member of the Salvation Army?
Thank you very much, Professor. What happened is that my father, he came from a good family. There were, I think, 4 brothers and 2 sisters. He was the second born of the Wakafu family. And what happened is that they went to school early. It's surprising, even me, when I look at the history of my family. And my father was a very good writer. And he used to write letters and letters and letters, especially to me, trying to correct me when I went to a ward. He would write letters to his brothers, he would write letters to his sisters. They had an education early in life, especially the firstborn, who was Faksad Mwaura Wakabu. And he translated to be, he's transformed to be a leader, the elder brother. He educated the other brothers, and he was leading in cooperative movement. He lived in Dimo farm in Elbagon, that area. And you know that time, after we were colonized, and through the Swinnerton plan, a plan which was meant to create good space for farming because of food security in the country, the local people were transferred to the Rift Valley. The good lands were occupied by the colonists. This land subdivision, according to economists, would not have good productivity. So they were shifted. And the reason for shifting was twofold. 1, to create space for the settlers. 2, to provide labor for the settlers. So my family actually moved now from Mangu, Gatundu to Rift Valley. They settled in Elmantaita, they settled in Elbagon, they settled in Gilgil, they settled in Nyahururu, Iguamete. These people were migrants all over. One of the worst things about colonists and colonialism is that it displaced people from their rightful ancestral homes to those other places which they could not call their own. So what happened, and again, families were very united, absolutely united. They did not have laws and rules on inheritance and all that. So the word of the old Mzee, the blessings of the old Mzee mattered a great deal. And when my grandfather, Wakabu, died, he bestowed leadership of the family to Afaksad Mora Wakabu. And
he became the Muramati.
Absolutely. Muramati Waido Sia family. So what happened now is that they went to school, Dean School Kabete, to learn trade. And all of them became carpenters, very good carpenters. Some of the things my father made in carpentry, or my uncles, including the doors, they are still there. Beautiful. I can say here and now, without any doubt, that the kind of carpentry which was being done and being taught here at Kabete Jean School was superb. The tables, the chairs, the beds, boxes, and all that. So now, my father, while working as a carpenter in European farms and European settlers, now that's where he got the bug of Christian, especially the Salvation Army. And he was a young man, and he was hardworking, and then he went through the stages to become a sergeant major. And that's where he started his mission now of preaching. However, later in the discussion, you realize that he changed, especially after he was released from detention.
And we'll come to that, right?
Yes, please.
So he starts doing missionary work, because that is what it was.
Yes.
For the Salvation Army.
Yes.
Preaching in the neighborhood.
Yes.
If you were today, would say he was preaching in the streets.
Yes.
Trying to convert people.
Yes.
And then he rose through the ranks.
Yes.
So I wanted to see if you have any stories about how he was doing it, how he was traveling, whether he was being paid, or how it was happening.
I have a lot to say about my father and his religion, Salvation. In fact, I think he was member number 53. And the clothes he wore, the white with a band, red band, and very neat. My father is known for being very clean, very absolutely clean. His clothes were spotless, the way God wants us to be, spotlessly clean. And what happened is that they were preaching. Yeah, they were preaching on the streets. From town to town, they were soldiers of the Lord. And when they were going, they were marching like soldiers of the Lord, with drum sets, with tambourines, everything. And even some of the songs, he continued singing, like the one Navika, I'm dressed as a soldier of the Lord. Nafika mavazi ya kupigana, andui kushinda tusikimbie, andui na wajue hapa pahali yote, sisi askari wa Yehova. He taught us those songs, and especially when they would sing this song with my mother, it was great. We would join. But after release from prison now, there was no Salvation Army in Mount Kenya area.
Yes. So I wanted to ask, such a committed Christian, how did he end up being involved in Mau Mau?
Mau Mau struggle involved many people and many things. First of all, poverty, abject poverty, was biting. Even if you are a Christian, even if you are very religious, you must eat. And those followers, the ones who converted to real discipleship, they had to fend for themselves. The Christian discipleship, Jesus would provide the food. They did not care. They would preach and convert and heal because they had the master with them. But the ones who are now left to be disciples like my father At the end of the day, they still had to feed. They still had to struggle for their wives and children. As a matter of fact, his religious background cost him. My father was born in 1905. He married in 1951, 46 years later. And he married to a young girl, my wife, my mother, his wife, who was now, there was a 26 years difference between the age of my mother and my father. So it did cost him. And that is why in his struggle, trying to look and fend for the family, as well as preach, that's why he learned the trade of being carpenter. And thereafter, because we are still under colonialism, and there was emergency declared, he started now coexisting with Mau Mau bush boys and terrorists.
And did he take the Mau Mau oath?
Yes, he did. He did, and one of the reasons why he started now partying was confession. He did not confess. And the process of confession was tough, Professor, because it used beatings, threats, and death. So if you are caught, if you are betrayed by the people who had surrendered, that even so and so had taken the oath, and you refuse to admit and to confess that you had taken the oath, you're in trouble. Big, big trouble. So what my father did is that he moved from an area where he was known to the Rift Valley where he was not known, so that he could be able to preach and do his work at will. In fact, he was a very good builder. Egerton University, they built it. They built, even later in life, Hilton Hotel. He was one of the carpenters who put on those sliding panels, those beautiful sliding panels you've been seeing at Hilton Hotel. My father contributed to workmanship. So
let me understand.
Yes.
So you're saying that for fear of being compelled to confess,
yes,
he decided to go to the Rift Valley.
Yes, to run away.
To run away.
Yes.
Okay. So is that the point at which he got involved in gun running?
Yes, yes.
Can you describe that process?
What happened is that the Bush boys, you see, Mau Mau, we need to know about Mau Mau. Mau Mau was a very structured and well-organized movement struggle. To be able to fight the colonists, who were superior in many ways in education, in warfare, with guns and bullets and so on, fighting against people who believed in themselves, who had no power to fight the fire of the white man. Spears and arrows will not do. Bullets spit fire. Yeah? You got to be a marksman to be able to hit your target with a bow or an arrow or a spear or a panga. So when they decided to move to the forests, I'm talking about now Mau Mau terrorists. Actually, they were not terrorists. They were Mau Mau fighters. The word terrorism has got a very bad connotation because it's like they were out there to cause trouble for other people. But that was not the case. They were fighting for independence. So while my father was in his journeys about religion, I think he came to learn about the poverty in the forests, the lack of ammunition, and I think he was lured, or he got convinced from his own spirit that he should not be against the people who are fighting for independence. And he was a very good courier, because with uniform, with a Bible, he was able to smuggle guns and bullets to the forest through the bush boys. He never did it himself, but what happened is he was a human courier. The terrorists would attack settlers in the white farms.
The so-called terrorists.
Yeah, so-called. Actually, they should not be, but that's, you are right. So-called terrorists would now attack single farms, settlers. Either kill them or steal their guns and ammunition, and any weaponry that they could find.
Where was he getting these guns that he was running?
You see, from settled farm, you remember the settlers. You remember the settlers displaced our people and took all the good lands. Right from here, Nyandarua. There were very good farms in Nyandarua. Limuru here, these two farms. Yeah? And even Thika, near Thika, all those were settlers. And that's where the locals there would spy, get the guns. All what my father had to do was to transport them, hiding, and from church to church, from mission to mission, preaching as a soldier of the Lord. He was both a soldier of the Lord and a soldier of the struggle movement of Mau Mau.
Very interesting. So earlier on you told me that some of the guns would be procured from the Rift Valley as far as Trans Nzoia.
As far as Trans Nzoia, the Rift Valley, Nakuru was their base. There were so many settlers. And one thing, Professor, they were not settling to later on unsettle and leave these lands. Is the effects of the struggle, the Mau Mau struggle for independence. It's real. People sometimes mistakenly think that it was only Kikuyus who are in this, but it's not only Kikuyus. They were supported. They are supporters from the entire country, right from coast, because obviously the white man came with a Bible, very friendly, came with songs, very friendly, but he also came with taxes. They started charging hard tax and other taxes, demanding, making demands. And when it came to educations, they were very selective. They would only educate their own. They would leave our people. And that's why they started their own local religions. That's African independence churches. And that's why these people saw we will not go far with the settlers. They are our bosses, they have stolen our lands, they are taking our property, and they are misusing us. It's cheap labor with very little pay. And that pay that you get, you also pay tax on it. That's what agitated Mau Mau rebellion.
Okay. So in 1855, your dad gets arrested.
Yes.
Could you describe the circumstances that led to his arrest?
Okay, I think intelligence. So you know, even today, we fear intelligence. Not necessarily men in Subarus and not necessarily men in black, but the intelligence pinpointed my dad. And he was preaching at Shamahoho, Kaimosi mission there. So after one of the crusades, he was arrested, blindfolded. And then he was brought to Nairobi, and then he was taken to Manyani. Manyani is near Taveta, Coast Province. That's why he was incarcerated for 7 good years.
So for him to have been in detention for that long,
yes,
there must be something that the colonial authorities found,
yes,
about his operations,
yes,
and its connections with the Mau Mau. What was it? What do they say it was?
Okay, first of all, you know he was defrocked. When you are arrested, that's crime, you are defrocked. So that came to a stop. But how he was arrested is because, you see these bullets people use, they've got numbers, they are specific. If you do forensic on them, you know that this bullet, this gun belonged to so and so. He is the one who is licensed to have that gun. So they found that the gun had come from Trans Nzoia. The gun had come from Rift Valley. And the bullets, and they were found in Nyandarua forests. Then they started now checking what happened, who would have brought it. Moving backwards, it was traced that my father had delivered the ammunition and the gun. And that's why he was arrested and detained.
My. Okay. Now, when he, after he came back, and
yes,
you described the circumstances
yes,
around how he came back, how he returned back home.
Yes.
But when he was in detention,
yes,
what kind of stories did he tell you
Yes.
about life in detention?
Okay, thank you, Professor. Life in detention was very bad. As a matter of fact, even before he told us, because he was telling us later when he was already released in 1960-61, we knew because of what was happening in the village. What happened is that to create room for the settlers and also to protect the people who are there, they were put into camps, into villages. Those colonial villages, the families were brought together. They dug trenches all around the villages. They put very sharp wooden spikes in the gullies, very wide, more than 10 feet, such that you could not jump from there, from the forest. The people who were coming to attack them, they made it very difficult for them to come. And then, obviously, there were the home guards who are now working with the administration, colonial administration, and the other askaris. And what was happening is that they were watching. They had built towers. Any movement of a bush anywhere, any smoke would be followed. To protect now the women and the children who were left in the village, as their husbands either were detained or they went to the forest to fight, or they provided cheap labor in white settlers' farms. So mainly the villages had very old women, very old men, children and women, who are terribly misused by the local soldiers, the home guards, the headman, the chiefs, for labor to cook for them, and many other things which were very unbecoming. Yes. So, if I may answer your question, is that not my father who told me. When they were in detention, there came a time when now they would be visited. If you behaved well in detention, you would be allowed now to be receiving visitors in detention. And now when you go to the detention, a few people will be selected. Not necessarily the wife. A few people will be selected to come and visit you in the detention. And after they come, they would come and report and say, oh, he's grown so old, he's grown so thin. Very disturbing stories. In fact, they would come crying. What happened? Is he dead? Did you find him, or did you find that he was dead? You say, he is as good as dead. He's walking bones. You can't even recognize him. Now such stories, some were meant to threaten, so that if you are a woman and married, you know you don't have a husband anymore. You are free now to move on with your life. Maybe get another man. And all these were cheats. And all these were stories calculated to infringe the rights of the natives.
Colonial propaganda. Basically.
Colonial propaganda, which worked very well. But, thank to God, even, you see, there were no newspapers to write the reports over there. So they would come, when they come back, to tell the people what happened there. They would compose songs and poems. And they would come and start singing them and reciting them. So that now you know, once you are incarcerated in concentration camps, this is what happened. So they would sing songs, and these songs are there, that they were going to carrying buckets of feces, the human waste. Yeah? They were not allowed to help themselves naturally. They would help themselves in buckets. And they are the same people who would carry those buckets with their heads and their hands to empty them in a place that's selected to do that. Very dirty work. Very, very sad things that happened to the freedom fighters in the colonial struggle. They would compose songs, and for instance, I've recorded some of the songs, Mau songs.
The songs are in this book?
They're in the book, the colonial songs. One of them says that is now the detained person telling the one who had come to see him, when you reach home, when you go back home, say hi to my wife. Say hi to the children. I left 2 children. Now I hear there are 4. Was I sorry when I'm here in detention? Very moving. Then, when the song gets there, and the home girls hear it, they study the mood of the song. They would respond. They would say, stay there in detention. Now they are responding to the song. Stay there in detention, you foolish person. Who made you go to the detention? You should be very happy that when you went there here, I've sighed for you here, children who are going to be the future clerks, who are going to support you when you come out. So you are foolish to have gone to detention. Me now, I'm the one lording over your family. So those songs, those exchanges would make one cry. But they were full of meaning. And they were records. They were just like the Chronicles that we are in today. For record.
Okay.
Yes.
So these people who are detained.
Yes.
And these people who are in the forest.
Yes.
At some point.
Yes.
They come out of their various places, either detention or the forest.
Yes.
And they start being integrated into the community.
Yes.
I wanted you to describe that process.
Yes.
Including the so-called pipeline.
Yes.
And tell us how it was being done.
Okay, from my research and records, what was happening is that if you capitulated, if you are detained and you capitulated, they started now moving you, because in the detention camps there were some which were very bad. The mistreatment was very bad, like Kamiti, like Adhiriva, like Hola. Very bad. Hardcore, what they would call hardcore criminals were being taken there. Now, when you start improving, when you are beaten, you are punished, and your spirit is giving way now, is giving in, you would move to slight punishment prisons, which included Nairobi Remand Prison, Langata, detention camp. Naivasha was very bad. Naivasha was terrible. There are others which were in coast, like Manyani and like that. But now, every stage that you go, you are indoctrinated to worship the colonial government, to cooperate with the colonial government, to serve the colonial government. When they thought that you are adequately rehabilitated, you would then be released. That is what was called the pipeline. Converting you from hardcore criminal to somebody who can be used for labor, for farm labor. Because it's changed. And you'll be screened, you'll be vetted. If they found that there was a bit of uncleanness, according to your own terminology and terms, you'll still be taken back. You would reach a place and then reverted back. Now, once you reach a place whereby now you can go free. There used to be one detention camp in Nyeri, which people call Kangoviri. Kangoviri is a corruption of the word can now go free. Can now go free. But because you see now the local people don't know English, so Muzungu says that one now can go free. Kangoviri. Then you would be released with the chief, with the headman, you'll be taken back to your village. When you go there, the sad thing is, during that time, because of the Swinnerton plan, there was land adjudication. You would find that where you left your land is not where the land is, because there was land consolidation. you have moved, because all the small pieces of land were consolidated. If you had a land in this place, land in this place, it would be consolidated, you'd be given one. So that at the end of where the demarcation of villages is, because people would go and farm their small lands, and then in the evening, for protection, yeah, they would go to the concentration camps, which were now surrounded by gullies and soldiers and barbed wire. Now, what used to happen is that when they came out, for instance, in our case, after land consolidation, our land moved to a very good place. And my mother and my father, because they later became good farmers when they were farming. When we were digging, an old man would come, and you know, old men that time, they were not wearing suits, they were wearing shukas, they were wearing shorts, they had a walking stick. He would come and stop and look at our land, at our shamba, and shake his hand. And I would ask my mother, why is that man looking at us like that and shaking his hand like this? Then he says, this man says that he was moved. This used to be his land, and he was moved into a bad place, and we are the beneficiaries of that good place. So you can see, it was very unsettling.
So some people say that the whole purpose of land consolidation,
yes,
was to create animosity within the Kikuyu community.
Yes, there was deep divisions. And the other thing is, remember, once your parents die and there are no wills being written, what happens to the land? The survival for the fittest. The people with the power, the people who are aligned to the administrators, the people who are aligned to chieftaincy, the people who are aligned to the headmen, they are the ones who will take over your land. You've got nobody to defend you. It is really subjugation upon subjugation. And it was very bad because, you see, nobody considered humanity in people. All what they wanted is, if it's consolidation, good agricultural land. And where was the food going? Not here. Where? Europe. They were feeding their people there. Because even in Europe, now we come to know that they're also escaping a state of war in Europe. First World War, 1914 to 1918. Second World War, 1939 to 1945. That area is actually when they were coming here so that they can be able to get materials and cheap labor and everything. And remember, even in the First and Second World War, they had come here to recruit the warriors, the fighters. And those are the people who were sent to Ceylon, they were sent to India, they were sent to other Burma. And when they came back is when they said, kumbe this man is also fallible. Kumbe they are being killed there, they can die. They are being shot there, they can be wounded. So when they come, they started now fighting with Johnnies. Johnnies were the colonial soldiers, and Bush boys, Iheshia Bushi, those were the young men from the Kikuyu community.
All right, now, the fact that your father was not released until 1960.
Yes.
That means that he was not very successful on the pipeline.
He wasn't because, you see, okay, even he went with his Bible. He went in his Bible there. And they wanted to retain him as much as possible because he would soften the souls and hearts of the hardcores. However, when it came to punishment, he was punished the same. So my father actually came from Manyani. Manyani is on your way to Mombasa Road. You see, before you come to Voi, is the first station after Voi. He came to the river, then they came to Kiambu, then he was dropped at night. It's an incident.
Can you describe that? Because ordinarily,
yes,
people used to be brought to a station near home,
Yes.
some kind of halfway house near home,
Yes.
and their home, and then they would be, their relatives would be required to visit that station
Yes.
and identify their relatives who had been detained.
Yes.
This is not what happened. You say your father came at night.
My father was brought. They started their journey from very early in the morning. In fact, he says they started at 4. And then...
starting from where?
4 a.m. From detention, from Manyani. Then, I think around midday, they were in the river. Then, around maybe 6, they were in Kiambu. Then that's where now they were being subdivided into groups.
Screened.
They are screened, and they have seen their fate for being free. But they are put into clusters. Oh, this come from Darugo, this come from Chania, this comes from Dhika. They would be given army trucks to be dropped. In our case, what happened? And there were rumors that people are being released. Who have those ones who have passed the pipeline screening. What happened, I remember very well. I was 8 years old. And you see, 8 years, some memories may fade, others you stick. Mine stuck. Because that incident when my father came back, obviously I had not seen my father. Because being born in 1953, and my father was taken from the Crusades there. He was not coming home. He had already moved from Mangu to the Rift Valley, and then he was taken. He never passed home. When coming, they were just, and they were ambushes. They were being arrested without knowing. And there was no bye-bye. There was no letter writing. Nothing, no communication, incommunicado. So now, when he was being released, we just had voices in our heart. We had a small heart. There was heart for my grandmother, and there was a heart where I used to live. My mother used to cook for soldiers. My mother used to cook for another white DO in Gavaitse, and she had no idea that my father was coming back. So that evening, when we were waiting in the evening for food to be cooked, and we don't have a lamp, we are using the light of the fireplace, and then we heard knocks, we heard voices outside. And because now, remember, the emergency has ended. Emergency has ended, and we are on the road to independence. So we are no longer in concentration camps. We are back now into the farms. And in our small farm, there is a small hut for my grandfather, the father of my mother, the mother of my father. Then there is ours there. And my mother was taking care of our grandmother, paternal grandmother. We heard voices outside. And we saw my mom got tense. And we saw my mother listening to the voices. She kept mum, and we kept mum. Now in fear and consternation, not knowing what would follow. So there was a knock on the door, and my mother did not open. After a short while, there was another knock on the door, and she moved closer to the door, but she did not open. But we could see and read fear all over her body. We as small children, we followed our mother to the door and held her clothes, little fingers, little hands, trying to defend their mother. There at the door. And outside there are people talking. A final hard knock came. Open! Then my mother moved the door slowly, pulled the latch, held the door, conjured the door, as if praying and saying, Lord, do not give us calamity. But when she opened, a man entered. A man we had not seen. A man we could not recall. A man my mother also feared. He entered and sat down. And the people who had brought him said, okay, now you have reached home. And they left. So now here there is a fireplace with a pot of cooking food.
What was cooking? What kind of food was
Githeri. Yeah, Kikuyus just eat maize and beans, nothing else. No meat. Meat, even me, I started eating meat once in a year. I don't know what kind of poverty. And Kenya has not changed geographically. It's been Kenya, but the kind of poverty was impossible. So now here we are. My mother started exchanging words with, hey, when did you come? Oh, you did not inform us that you are coming. Hey, how have you been? Then my father would say, you think I was on holiday? You're asking me, because she would say, what have you brought us? Then brought you, what would I bring? Except the clothes, even the clothes that I wore last, I was given this morning. Yeah? Because over there in the prisons, they don't wear their own personal clothes. They are in prison uniforms and camp uniforms. So anyway, my father came, returned. And
so your mom told you this is your father?
No. Mom never told us that he was a father. Started asking questions. We had learned the language, now we could hear. When did you come? Then he said, how are the children? My father was asking him, how are the children? Said, now you can see how they have grown big. We want now him to go to school. Yes, how is my mother? Then my mother dashed to the hut where my grandmother was living. Then our grandmother was very, very old. She could not walk alone without a stick. She was limping. And I think she was having backache or something. So she was bending. And she came urinating. Oh, God is good, God is good. Oh, how good is God. Oh, my son has come back. And we had a celebration of a sort in terms. And you know, the fire, when my grandmother and my father met, the fire burst out in flames. Yeah? Like celebrating the arrival of my dad. So later on, my dad took me, kept me in one leg, one knee, took my elder sister, put them there, and then he started holding us in love and in fondness. He had not seen us for such a very long time. That is a story that is etched in my soul. I always see it, I always remember it, but it also sometimes.
It's okay. At this time you are in primary school, right?
No.
You are not yet
going. I had not even gone to school.
Oh yeah, you are, and you are 8 years and not.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay. So, but what were the other kids saying about all these strangers who are returning back from either detention or from the forest? Were children having those kinds of discussions?
Not really, we did not know. Yeah, the children did not know. And then there was a lot of hatred, animosity between the home guards and the returnees, the detainee returnees.
I forgot to ask you.
Yes, please.
The house that you are living in.
Yes.
How was it constructed?
It was a mud house.
After independence. After the land consolidation.
Yes.
With what kind of resources? What kind of help?
Actually, what used to happen is villagers were very good. It was community built. And interestingly, Professor, the poles, to build this, the thatch to put the roof on, all that was made in 1 or 2 days. for providing now the walls, for walling the place, was mud that, just mud mixed with water. And we would step on it, yeah, until it dries, it evaporates, and then it's built into bricks. But now instead of doing good bricks, the square bricks, it was just a question of
scooping the
mud and putting it just like the Maasais would do. So it was a mud house, and worse, because now it's my mother. My father had no role in building that house. It's the community there, just to help us. Yeah, but it used to happen from house to house, from farm to farm. That's what used to happen. There was a lot of love and fellowship of the local community. Once they knew why you are there, why you're in that state, they would help.
I remember there was what they were calling the Iviga.
Yes, correct.
You know, which was a kind of communal labor. Wira wa gwatio.
Ni gwatio. Mugaka guku, igwenge mugaka guku. Kulima the same. Ongoro ni mugunda mugathie. Ongoro ni mugakia mwakire itugota. Watugutu umaki mwacho wa mwakihanda. Ni wira turutete muno. Na wira ucio wari mwega tonu watuma andu mamenyane. Ukatuma mumenye mundu wikio, mundu muthingu. Tariu ndirikanaga tugithinga nyumba itu iria twacokire gwaka. Anake nimetirie thigara. Makiuga nimekwenda kunyua thigara, magurirwo thigara. Na riu ri uhoro wa thigara ri maitu ndangiendire muno tondu ni akihonokete, ni ta muhonokire hingo yo. Ni ndatumirwo kugura thigara. Ni ndathie kugura thigara nduka-ini ri ndoririe thigara iria cheapest cietagwo kari roaster ikinegero kabagiti kamwe kari na 20. No mendaga thigara ingi cietagwo crown bad hingo yo, ciarĩ cierũ na kabad uguo ndũngĩmenya we munini. Rĩu niĩ ndakimareheire ndĩcirĩtie njĩkĩte wega mũno. Nĩ wamenya thigara ĩyo ndĩrĩ na filter. Wamenya thigara ĩyo nĩ mwena na nĩ thigara ndũrũ mũno. Matiakenire. No rĩu rĩ ithingano rĩagĩthire na mbere, nĩtwathingirwo nyũmba, no ũguo nĩguo twekaga mahinda mau. Ciĩtagwo ngwatio.
Na rĩu rĩ ũngiuga atĩa ũhoro wĩgiĩ ũrũmwe ũcio wa hĩndĩ ĩyo, tondũ angĩkorwo mamu wanyu matigĩtwo na cũcũ wanyu kũu nĩ atumia erĩ na nĩ marona andũ agoka kũmateithia. Is that not amazing?
It's amazing, na nĩ mendanĩte mũno. Na wendo ũcio ndũrĩ wathira bũrũri, tondũ nĩ kĩndũ kwanza rũrĩrĩ rwitũ rwa Gĩkũyũ twamenyire kuma tene. Mũgũnda ũcio kaboundary kau gekĩrĩtwo na kariaria, it means nothing. Twathiĩ mũgũnda twaheagwo irio, tugakomio. Na kwanza hingo ĩyo it was very dangerous, tondũ mũrathiĩ kũrĩmĩra marigũ, kwĩna ngara nĩ nyamũ ici mĩkũrũ ihana mbĩa, kwĩna mbĩa, kwĩna nyoka. No menye mami wanyu aranyita mwana ũcio akamwĩkĩra ciande, akamũkua na ngoi, ararĩma nake. Ongorwo ndekũmũkua na ngoi, agathiĩ agathondeka handũ ũguo, akaiga tũmahuti ũguo, akara mathara akomia kana kau. Gĩtina-inĩ gĩake kĩa irigũ. Handũ hau nĩho hena ihũhũ. Nĩ Ngai watũroraga. Kĩnjuge nĩ Ngai, na Ngai nĩ mwega tondũ rĩu tũgĩcemania nawe akiuga nĩ ngũngereire. Ona eciria maica makwa makoretwo mahana ũguo. Ũguo nĩguo kũhana. Ngai atũrutĩte kũnene. Na wendo ũcio niĩ korwo no njũrie andũ aitũ nĩ atĩ tũtũrie wendo tondũ Ngai nĩ wendo. Ona ũguo atwĩrĩte God is love. Twendana na ũtige kwĩrora mũndũ, ũtige kũhuria mũndũ na gwitũ. Tondũ ũraigua andũ acio magĩtwakĩra nyũmba mageka maũndũ mothe. Ona thukuru, tarĩ niĩ ndathiĩte twatũmĩtwo gwetha mbeca Elbagon kwa baba Mũnyinyi. Na rũgano rũu rwĩ mbuku-inĩ ĩno yakwa. Tondũ that's the first time ndahaicire ngari ya mwaki. Ngari ya mwaki is not a cat of fire, it's a train. Okay? Ndathire from Mang to Elbagon by train, and it's part of a title of a chapter in my book. Rĩu koguo kwarĩ na wendo, na reke nĩ tũcokie wendo. If there is anything that we need to do is to return to our first love. God so much loved the world. That is what we should imitate.
Gucokia haria andu nimanjiria gucoka mataratũire. Life is coming back to normal. Ni waingira cukuru. Ngwenda riu tutaririe waingirire cukuru atia. Na ugithoma ri nitiguo wiathi woka. Koguo no ngwenda guhutie hau. Primary school yothe makianjiriria nginyagia kirekerero tutaririe uhoro wa wiathi.
Njuge atiriri baba cokari ni andikire marua akiandikira mũrũ wa nyina etagwo Samuel kama wanyenji akorwo Elbagon no cio to ndakire detainees ona baga mukuru matiari detainees acio mathire na mbere na kurutira ki athungu wira wa gwaka especially Samuel kama ni ana twinde twake tondu oni mahotete kunyitana me brothers makagura kirori 1947 kirori kia Bedford uguo na kingi getagwo man icio ni ndikanagio na scraps yacio tingari scrap tuthiite gucera kuo riu ri ni andikire marua akiuga no nyende undeithie gutwara ciana thukuru tondu ni ikinyite hingo ya gucoka thukuru na gutiri na mbeca icio ciarihagwo 20 shillings per term na ni iraga tondu ngitikia ati mainaku 12 maria matungu maragurwo thumuni maundu maria makumakania muno economy itu ni ikurite no ni ahanangitwo muno ni aria mamirugamirire no hingo ririkane ati tukiheo independence twari about 10 million umenye umuthi professor twikinde 55 million na in addition to 55 million kuri andu ingi muno mbokite tu aris na magasetu guku koguo our food basket is not expanding. And when it expands, we're exporting because we want money. Food is not so much of an issue to us, as money. Negu hagithire ndakiambirie thukuru 1961.
Koguo ni brothers cia baba wanyu ni koire mbeca
muno umwe nima twathire na matha tukiro tugire mbeca tutiathire na baba rugano ruu rihana ni rwega muno tukirie tene muno baadhi yayo imwe tu yathia thika etagwo Nyakiambi twithie tugikiigwo thika twicoka tukioana itu na hingo ena itaruru ena ikwa ena nduma iria agura atwarire andu a kuria warubaga ni rugano rwega inyu thomani tondu riu divie into details but it's a good story. It is etched in my mind ndikariganirwo tondu warubaga makwiheho ni heho ria yaturia utuku na kugwa tondu gwathuthuaga hanini kwambatira haria Elbagon ni hau uguo hasa mwo kama wanyeji opposite kwa iriri ndi mwana ndakwira toinaina uguo we are shaking like reeds ice atwakinya ku mwaki wakio munene muno tukirugirwo tukiria ngima tutarathimirwo tukiria irio tutarathimirwo tukiona tatwathi paradise undu uria disappointing ni ati hingo twakirokire kuria kwa hindi warubaga kugurirwo nguo maitu igire ngurirwo nene nguo nene nigetha ona next year ndiciikire riu ni ndekira nguo ciakwa uniform ciothe ndahana gatari cia kuhoya ngicoka riu thurwa ni yagwaga ngetia mucibi baba munyinyi akiuga uri hagana mugoto ni niki is banana fiber leaf yugo ni ndathire thukuru na thurwa ri agaki yohetwo na mugoto na agika interview na ngihituka Ruvuri Primary School in Gatundu South tene Gatundu yakoragwo nene na ithuĩ twari very lucky tondu our first MP was the president of Kenya was Jomo Kenyatta, a great man no ni gucuka goteo Jomo Kenyatta araga maundu ma bururi na akarora maundu ma Africa ndaraga Gatundu gwake Gatundu gwake andu a Gatundu ni andu amwe aria makoretwo me thutha muno, ona mundu uria ramukiririe hanini ni mwana uyu wake wetwo Uhuru Muigai wa Kenyatta, kimwana kiega muno, a wonderful person, mundu wina cia ngoro, ekite tu maundu agakira andu nyumba agakimateithia na makiria maundu mothe, mundu ekaga maundu maria mateguteithia mundu umwe magateithia ki andu othe, ta bara waka bara no ateithia andu othe, waka thukuru no ateithia andu othe, waka kanitha no ateithia Ngai na no ateithia andu othe. In selecting the projects that you are going to do, andu aitu ikendu tie wako nyumba citu na twikire gate nene cia kumakia andu na tugae ngari nene cia kuononia andu, ugwega kaundu karanyita andu o the same spirit ya ithinga, ya kulima, ya ngwatio, ya community yori iyo niwe riteithia buri witu. That's all I can say.
Okay.
Yes.
Ndenda gucokia haria maikira cukuru ni wathoma 1 na 2 oginya 63 ri wiyathi ni woka riu andu maiga wiyathi ni mutu.
Reke ngikwire professor, wiyathi ari ni moe tondu angikoro kwi nyimbo cinitwo ni nyimbo cia gwitia wiyathi ciatungagwo ni agitwa akahengeri na Waira wa Kamau na andu angi aingi, tondu koinagwo wiyathi 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 bururi wa Kirinyaga, bururi wa gikeno witwamba na mititu, Kenya ni bururi wa andu airu. Now you have heard people are crying for freedom. Then later on they are also saying tutiuragia kunyitwo kana gutwarwo njera kana gutwarwo icigirira, niamu tutigatiga gutetera wiyathi kinya bururi ukono theri, wiyathi 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 bururi wa Kirinyaga, bururi wa gikeno witwamba na mititu, Kenya ni bururi wa andu airu. Uririkane ndiriga Kenya ni bururi wa andu airu, ti wa Gikuyu, ti wa Ikamba, ti wa Mbaluhia, andu airu othe aria me Kenya, aria me Uganda, aria me Tanzania, Africa, this skin, this black skin.
Kenya ni bururi wa andu airu
pure. That's how it should be. It may not be that for reasons I will not expound here, but that was God's intention.
Nyimbo ici irainwo ri ciatungitwo gitirigo kiu
mathina ni matumaga
wiyathi utananyitwo nigetha riu miaka iyo ikuhiririe wiyathi niguo nyimbo icio ciatungirwo tondu icio ugicikiriria cina utiganu na nyimbo iria ciainagwo hindi ya mau in the 50s, koguo he utiganu wa nyimbo cia 50s na nyimbo cia early 60s. Ici cia early 60s ni nyimbo tungita anticipatory na nikio irakiuga, of course they declare ati no wiyathi no wa andu airu bururi
na ni turatetera wiyathi
okay. Riu andu aya a Waira wa Kamau ri na mundu gwitwo Kahengeri
na hari thuku ni ari atene
riu aya
na build alikagia
aya mari youth ni metagwo youth ya Kanu,
ni youth ya Kanu na yari very organized o ni mari na tukubia gwikire oguo professor hingo ria muthungu onire pio na ukiga na wave nene muno ya mabururi kugia independence. Hau niho andu matamenyaga tondu utathiiga no nyina wikaga atia
wigukimairio
politics cia thi ikoragwo cirio ndomwe o ata America ya muraigwa tuga ni wiyathi maruire, you know the war of independence in America. And you know they got their independence in 1776 and many people died. The same kind of things that were happening in United States of America, the same kind of thing that was even happening in Britain here with Ireland, a community looking for freedom, a community looking for self-determination. That is what was happening here. So what was happening here, Professor, is that after detention, in 1960, the white man saw that there is no any other way. And in fact, there was a group that went to Lancaster House now to start agitating and demanding independence. And it was agreed. The governor, Bering that time, I think MacDonald, they saw there's nothing they could do anymore. They could not hold on to power illegally in Kenya. So there was a roadmap to independence. And we did not get our independence in 1963 per se, but there was a roadway. You see, there were elections. In fact, even Legico was even there in 59 and so on. It's a history that I am sure you know. So when they started announcing that Kenyatta is going to be released, there was a lot of activities. And now, the same people who are so much united, they started collating around small tribes, forming parties. So there was, there used to be Kenya Central Association as a party, which later transmuted to Kenya African National Union. And then there was division, Kenya African Democratic Union, led by Ronald Gara. And then there was other parties. And they were now competing because of the Legico. Legico is just the Legislative Assembly Council. They went to Great Britain, London, and they were given a roadmap that you are going to get your independence this year, then you are becoming a republic in this year, and that is what brought a lot of activities, political work, right from the grassroots to locational councils, to divisional councils, to districts. That's what created this. So it was an area of a lot of political activity. And that's when leaders started coming up. You knew this would be a leader, this can be elected. There were elective posts which were there. Now the youth, they are the ones who are composing these songs. Yeah. And for Uhuru, I mean for Kenyatta and Uhuru, they were inseparable. Kenyatta na Uhuru. And Kenyatta was being supported by a majority, including the father of Raila Odinga. That's the one man who refused to take any position until Kenyatta is released. So what happened in Kenya is that they started agitating for release of Kenyatta before they could discuss anything about independence. But I've said it. It's in my book. I've said it. But I've not expounded a lot because I believe there's a lot to tell. And we must all tell our story about our country. Yeah.
Good. I want to take you back to primary school.
Yes.
1963.
Yes.
And there was actually, the so-called the granting of independence.
Yes.
Godauge mweshia na leure. Mutiramenya nikirathi na mbere. From the perspective of a child.
Twero atiriri nituguthie thukuru na twatuika nituratuika attracted we thukuru ni undu ikindu gitagwo iria, kuheo iria, ona hagia mutumia muthungu uretwo cucu wa iria, na turamuinira muno cucu wa iria ni mwega ni atuheaga iria. But it's because of the multinationals.
Cucu wa iria no
cucu wa iria wekete uguo ibina na struggle ya independence ri ni kwagia ng'aragu muno, andu matirarema. Riu ria twekire ri ithuĩ twathie thukuru mundu aheagwo kindu kinini muno gia kuria, njuĩrĩ itu nĩ hire, kwacio ko nĩ ingĩhire, riu ciana warora nĩ malnourished. Riu ucio cucu okire na program ya kufeed school children. Yo kwante no rabĩrio gũkũ gĩthũngũri na kũndũ kũingĩ ũguo ya feeding children, tondu aciari amwe matikĩhota. Ni uguo niguo tweka twagithia twakirehagirwo twice a week.
Koguo ni
Ruburi na kundu kuingi kwari Ndarugu, kwari Karatu, kwari Shashiri, kwari Gatei.
Koguo ni humanitarian
Kanjuku,
the humanitarian
assistance.
Red
But it was coming, it was like Red Cross, but it was coming through missionaries. That's your sisters of mercy, Meka Maud Mashu, or brother priesthood, as you among mission. Na Karinga mission. Nio madonetaga irio, cia donetwo kundu kungi gakireho gagitwaro mathukuru. Iria Kagombe, haiya. Kagombe ukamucoco kamwe kugura. You are very rich. Kwa afford ng'ombe, kwa afford mburi, kwa afford nguku. Indo iria so naturally, breedable. Ito tokinyo githie artificial insemination mwe pedigree or whatever. Indo icio ciarĩ very, very difficult because of the state of the mind, because our minds had not been decolonized. Decolonizing of the mind up to today is one of the biggest challenges that we're having in our country, because people just still want to behave like the settlers, the white people, copying them in all aspects of their work.
Yes. Woka inyu mwishiana ri ni muraina nyimbo cia cukuru, ni murainithio nyimbo cia gukungwira wiyathi.
Ni wiyathi wa kungwirwo giuka na wiyathi wa mbere uka 1961 na Jomo ni ari ico kuma Maraero na mutumia wake our mother mama ngina wa Kenyatta. Uhuru uyu murona aciarirwo Maraero, aciarirwo in prison in detention because he mayukari aduri unima, they went into a frenzy. Utukuna muthenya kuineo wiyathi gukungwira nyimbo cia wiyathi na bendera na marangi matune mweru wa green the burito ni mwakiga bendera ya Kenya na maundu macio ndigũcokera to no makirikuo tiga no bendera no rangi wa white wacokire ukiongererwo uguo thutha-inĩ ni graphic designers na gwĩtuĩka it was political gwĩtuĩka rĩu rangi wa white ni thayo bũrũri ũyire bũrũri. Otherwise ungehutirie rangi ona original flag ya Kenya yari black, green and red nango na matimu. That was the initial crest for the flag of Kenya. Ino ya white ya kugia ni uratuike ni thayo tondu turakienda thayo na thayo ni mwega kento tungata na tuthingate thayo na njira nene. Riu ri no igwe ni ndakirikia riu Kenya mbe njuge ha Kenyatta atuikanie kuriswo ri na riswo ri okaga tondu ha ica weri ri ni atuika wa guthie kuonwo ni andu na andu aria maroga kumuona mabũrũri wothe na mabathi magoka angi trekking rugano rũu ni nduheanite buku-inĩ yakwa. Niĩ baba ambire akiuga ni aroka kuona Kenyatta uguo Gatundu ica weri akirwo ni mathaca ndũgũtũtiga tukiona ithuothe tugithie tukiinaga ukoima haha mugeciria munyuiki nyumba yo makoimira ni rũĩ rũratirwo mai ungi nongi tugathie tugakorwo twi gikundi kinene muno kirathie kiinaga Kenyatta wa Muigai ya Gatundu tugagithie Kenyatta hingo kumbe nake andu mathire na hingo ri colonial administration maka nyumba ya ihenya muno na Kenyatta to nake na muci ni maka handu haria Kenyatta ari guka kuona ni andu aria maroka kuona Kenyatta ya Kwame Nkrumah wa Ghana ni anene a Nigeria ana guku Malawi a Zambia acio ni wa aria maroka na Nyerere wa Tanzania. Riu ithuĩ twagithie ri andu makingagira gate imwe magieterera hau magieterera Kenyatta hingo Kenyatta no andu marakeria nake anene aria angi aco akoimira na gicuthi na mukwanju agathiũrũrũka ka make rounds uguo uhuru na KANU na mashamba yetu na elimu yetu agithiũrũrũka uguo na andu hingo mahũrĩte hi makoiga ngemi makaina agacoka Jomo ari mundu very dynamic wani kuhanyuka na ni egucoka thia kore nyakinyu hau maine na maine uguo maikenaga nagira acoke ningi acoke kuria nyumba mathii na mbere na ki na miario ya political independence. Riu na inyue aria mutekumwonete ngona ta ithu twana ri ni ta ndaigirwo ni baba haha twana tuoyagwo na iguru guku nigetha tuhote kuona ki njomo maundu ma njomo ni ithu tukumania tondu riu jitu riu ciana citu matingimenya no mundu wothe waciaritwo in 50s kana few aria maciaritwo 40s na aria marokire kinya 70s othe ni moe njomo. That name is a great name in the Republic of Kenya.
Uri baba wanyu ri tondu ni arekererio ri no nginya kenjerie kwiyaka ri anjirie kwiyaka na njira muthemba uriku nigetha kihote gukimuthomithia na gukimuhe irio cia kuria.
Ketuge atiriri naigua gwitu ni Gatundu naigua no ku Kenyatta ari naigua ni ritwa inene no farati njega gutire no kuria wa economy mbere ndungiahanire mainahu mahandagwo ni athungu kuria Kenya Canas andu ni metikirio wika atia kuhanda mainahu andu ni metikirio kuiga ng'ombe cia grade andu ni metikirio kuhanda macani na andu ni metikirio kuhanda kahua macoka hingo ni nguririkana wega minister wa cooperatives etagwo Paul Gay the first cabinet ni aheo uhoro ucio wa kuorganize cooperative nigetha andu manyitane hamwe make ithei cia kahua cia macani make minada ya ng'ombe cattle dips tondu hingo gutiri mundu ngiake afford. We used to have community cattle dips and it is covered in my book. Leu andu mari na euphoria nene muno ya independence. It was like the promised land. Leu andu meciragia migura ni magacokerio andu meciragia ati maundu magacoka mbarangi nyoria kwari mona aturorete Canaan, but it's Canaan that was never was, and it is still not Canaan according to the promises and the manifesto, Canaan manifesto, and all those promises were never fulfilled. This is not the first time that you are seeing political promises being unfulfilled, because politics is like amorphous. It's a game that it's something that keeps on changing. Today this is right, tomorrow it is wrong. The other day what was wrong is right. So it keeps on changing. But what I would say is that there is hope, and Muyokoyo gaga yateithagio ikite atia
iteithĩtie
mbere ya gweterera uteithio kuma kwĩ ungi rekeni twĩteithie, starting with your family, starting with that mother, starting with that father who sacrificed so much for you to get an education. Let's not join the bandwagon of competing in alleys of power. No. Let's go to the basics. Let's do first things first. And we create a nation, a prosperous nation that's going to push us to the next level. That's what I would say.
Ndĩra kũrĩkia ndĩra ngũria ciũria igĩrĩ. Kĩũria kĩa mbere papa wanyu arĩ mũrũi wa wĩyathi nĩtwaigua hau arĩ essentially spy. Rĩu rĩ nĩacoka na matinaheo mĩgũnda. Ndĩra kũmenya thutha wa wĩyathi kana nĩ arĩ disappointed nigetha njoke ngũrie kĩũria kĩa mũico kĩgiĩ muma wa 1969.
Rĩu professor andu acio othe manyitĩtwo na magĩthamio na magĩtwarwo concentration na magĩtwarwo detain marekio rĩ maũndũ mao matiagĩrĩre, no nĩ kwarĩ na promises atĩ nĩ makona mĩgũnda nĩ ũndũ ũrĩa magĩitire thakame, magĩte andũ ao, magĩte indo ciao kĩo nĩ hinya nĩ ngumutha na andũ atukunia. Those are terms which are described in certain characters in the fight for independence. Reke tuge atĩrĩrĩ, Kenyatta ona hana ũrĩa ahanaga Jomo-rĩ, nĩekire ũndũ ũmwe mwega mũno. Nĩ preached unity. He had a rallying call for Harambee na umoja wa Mwafrika na umoja na elimu ya watoto wetu. Nĩ ahotire kũgucĩrĩria na gũcokereria andũ na kũmaiguithania. No Kenyatta oro ũcio na ndo kwandĩka mabuku maingĩ ma mũtheo gwĩtwo Jomo Kenyatta. We arĩ mwandĩki, nĩ ũmenyete nĩ andĩkĩte Facing Mount Kenya, My People of Kikuyu, na andũ aingĩ nao makamũrũmĩrĩra agĩtwa Kahengeri, nĩo mambire gũtuonia ũrĩa wĩruta gũthura atongoria, buku yake ya mbere na ingĩ nyingĩ. Rĩu ũrĩa ngiuga nĩ atĩrĩrĩ, andũ acio rĩ no matigirwo na karema na kaũndũ mataiganĩire, tondũ ũrĩa mendaga mĩgũnda ĩyo nĩ cooperative ĩcoke ĩgayanio. Mĩgũnda ĩyo mũthĩ nĩcio ũraigua buroti maguta. Rĩu na farming ĩrĩa andũ makoretwo makĩgeria atĩ nĩgetha yagĩrĩre rĩ, makagĩa na ndaĩrĩ Gĩthũngũri ndaĩrĩ, ingĩ Kĩrĩnyaga, ingĩ Mũrang'a, maũndũ maingĩ. Ona nĩũronaga politicians amwe marageria. No imagine andũ makĩheo thara, no imagine andũ makĩheo mĩrĩo, no imagine andũ makĩheo irio. Rĩu rĩ independence ĩyo tiyo twarũagĩra, tiyo yarũagĩrwo nĩ Kenyans. He handũ hatarathiĩ wega, na niĩ ndĩ student wa politics as such. I just decided to write my book as I experienced it, but I am sure that there are many people in Kenya who are going to analyze where you are coming from, because if you do not understand where you are coming from, you don't have a strong foundation and basis of where you are going to go. We are not late. We still can correct where things are not going well, because in Kenya we adopted a constitution. There was the first independent constitution, and then there's 2010 constitution. Let's follow the constitutions. Let us follow the constitution of Kenya 2010. Let's not play around with the minds of the people, because at the end of the day, actions speak more louder than words. Now, my father was not a disappointed person, because he is a man. He lived many years. He passed on in the year 2000 at the age of 95 years. At that time, he had managed to give us a good education, and he had land which he bought, and we have shared that land with my brothers and my sisters. So I can say for him, but if you consider an acre or 2 acres, yeah, if you consider that as to what they were fighting for or what they were expecting, we say we are not yet in promised land. We have not yet, we have reached, although even the Bible says that it's only 4 or 2 people who entered Canaan. The rest, including their leader Moses, just saw it from afar. I think that's the same analogy I would use in Kenya.
Good.
Yes.
A couple of years down the line,
yes,
after independence,
yes,
we have another bout of oathing.
Yes.
I wanted you to describe that.
Thank you very much.
1969 oath.
It's my mistake. It's my mistake. You've reminded me about that, and there's something that I've written in my book. Actually, it's there. But for purposes of Chronicles, let me say this. Oathing has been there. And oath is supposed to bring people together, bind them with a purpose, so that every energy is directed and focused on the purpose of the oath. Initially, oathing was supposed to bring all the people together to fight colonialism. Okay? But later on, it deviated. Instead of bringing community together, every community was saying these are the oath takers, and these people did not take their oath. For people to be readmitted and rehabilitated in society, they had to confess that oath. And the issue of confessions of oath, I'm sure there are books going to be written, like in Kiambu Thika, people used to confess the oath, yeah, forced confession of oath at Chania Falls and Thika Falls. Those falls there, about 100 meters down. If you did not confess the oath, you will be dropped there, where there were crocodiles and hard rocks, and you would die. Once you see that, the people waiting, the next person to go and confess, they would confess everything. But there are those who are convinced and convicted in their hearts and souls, and they would not. They would not say what happened. So now, after independence, the politics of Kenya changed a little bit. First of all, there used to be many parties, but Kenya became a one-party state. As a result, there was a group of people who are not satisfied. They started forming other parties and so on, but the most important is the year 1969, when the late Tom Mboya was assassinated here at Moi Avenue, Chinese Pharmacy. And he was, by then, the Minister for Economic Planning, a young man, brilliant, and he was shot. Unfortunately, he was shot by a Kikuyu, Haiyae Njenga. Nation, Haiyae Njenga. Now,
maybe you could say that he was not your relative because your name is Jason Njenga.
Ah, he was not my relative. As a matter of fact, me, I'm an admirer of Mboya, and I stood for what Mboya stood for. I'm also a student of economics because I studied economics at the University of Nairobi and marketing. Now, in fact, I went to where Mboya had come from, and I was lucky even to meet his wife, Pamela Mboya. I stood for what he stood for, and he was a good man. But now, that death was misinterpreted by a majority of the people. Kikuyu versus Luos, which is not the truth, because even Luos do not come from the same place. There are Luos of South Nyanza, there are Luos of Migoris, and those other places. There are Luos of the island. So something was not going well that time. And some people wanted a note to be taken in 1969 to bind the people together, because there was a real threat. There was a real threat to the country. It was falling apart. The center could not hold. Now, that oath was rejected by state after some time, and it was rejected by religious groups, and it was stopped. Jomo Kenyatta stood over it and stopped it, and people started again uniting. But the same problem that came to Aluo, Joseph, Thomas, Mboya, also came to J.M. Kariuki in 1975. That March, 2nd March, 1975. J.M. Kariuki was not Aluo. The same fate fell on Dr. Robert Ouko. So every time there's a fallen hero, we cannot retreat back to oathing. And that's not the only time to unite. Kwani you only unite when there's death in the camp? No. These are some of the things that we need to look at squarely, right on the face, and we say we follow the Constitution of Kenya and we do what is right for everybody, because Kenya belongs to all of us. That's what I would say. But there are issues to be ironed out. And those only issues is what's dividing the country. And that's why you hear everybody wants to come up with their own party. It's a country of parties. So many parties.
Okay, so I've heard it from several people, including your former MP, Patrick Mururi.
Yes, Gatundu. Yes.
And his explanation was that the initial purpose of the 1969 oath was to create better coherence, better unity between the different factions of the Kikuyu, because the Kikuyus had been divided by the War of Independence, down the middle, between the Home Guards and the Itugati, those people who were supporting freedom. So the explanation is that the 1969 oath, the initial purpose was to bring the community together. But it then transpired that Boya got assassinated, and the oath was turned into, some facility for defending the community. So siege mentality set in amongst the Kikuyu, and they converted what was the original purpose of the oath, which was Kikuyu unity, into now an oath to compel defense of the community. Would you buy that explanation?
I would not buy it. Why 1969? Why not 63? Why not 64? Why not all these years, 67 and all that? What I would say is that the assassination of Joseph Thomas Boya triggered the whole thing. Actually, he was shot on in July 5th July 1969. It did not, the whole thing started thereafter, not before, not in January. So everything that happens for any event, there's got to be a trigger. There's a trigger that. And it was assumed that he was shot, because he was aspiring to be president, for the elections, coming elections. So somebody finished. But the truth of the matter is not with that. It should be with the investigators. They are the ones who should tell us what they found out after doing their forensic analysis and so on. But politically, it is a well-known fact that it was triggered by the death, the shooting of Tom Boya outside Chinese pharmacy on Moi Avenue. The community, the oathing of 50s, I would have no problem. That was to bring all the people together. And that is why it got support from Lowland, from Akamba land, from Luhya land, from all Luhya nation, Kamba nation, Kikuyu nation, that one. But even in Holy Communion, when you are taking Holy Communion, not everybody takes. It's only those who have confessed, those whom God has created a new heart in them, they are the ones. And it is never forced. You take voluntary, and you take it when you want. Any oath that is forced on people does not achieve the very purpose of its goal. Because you are forcing people. People must understand why. And in this day, or in those years, recent years, 1969, why do you have to do oathing?
Let me ask you.
Yes, please.
Between 63,
yes,
when we got independence,
yes,
those initial years,
yes,
would you say there was simmering differences within the community where you lived,
yes,
between those who are home guards,
yes,
and those who are supporting Mongo?
Yes, they were major. They started since the time for independence. They were major.
Were those major differences?
There were major differences because what happened really, and this is very interesting, and I must speak it out. What happened? We sons of the freedom fighters, we were not availed good education at that time. The people who were afforded good educations were the sons of chiefs, colonial chiefs and traditional chiefs who had money, who had something to exchange for. As a matter of fact, some of them, and I should not be misquoted, Koinange family should not be rerouted at all. Koinange family was not, so it was not a colonial family. As a matter of fact, Koinange as a colonial chief was foresighted to a great deal. Remember his son, Bio Koinange, got a master's in 1999. Not even 40s. Eh? That's a man who had seen very far. So when we talk about colonial chiefs, don't look at Josiah, Jonjo, the son of the late Attorney General of Kenya. In the same way, like you look at Koinange family, or even at other families, because you see now what happened is that because those are the people at independence, now the sons of those are the ones who got good jobs.
So thank you for that explanation on the Koinanges.
Yes.
But taking you back to your village.
Yes.
And the animosity between the home guards and the families deemed or who are actually former freedom fighters.
Yes.
I wanted you to describe that relationship because I heard that some people are not even could not even contemplate marrying from families of home guards.
Well, you are right, Professor. When the time for independence came, there were very many things, there were many divisions. But as I said earlier, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, the first president of the Republic for Kenya, the father of the fourth president of Kenya, Uhuru, and his wonderful wife, Mama Ngina Kenyatta. That leadership tried to bring unity and to preach unity. There was hatred, but the worst of hatreds can be healed. Look at a country like Rwanda. Look at a country like Burundi. Look at Hutus and Tutsis. They are living in peace now, yet they were killing each other. They were going for each other's throat. It is possible. It is very possible to preach peace. But you cannot preach water and then you take wine. Okay? Actions speak more louder than words in time. What is bringing the simmering differences is people saying this and they're doing something opposite. And from now on, leadership in Kenya, leadership in Africa, leadership in the world, will be based on the words of my mouth and the meditation of the heart being acceptable unto the Almighty. What is happening is that people now like coming up with the clarion calls, from this region and from this region. The regions and the mountains and whatever was created by God, and he knew very well what he was doing. So let no people come and start explaining why those regions are there. We must coexist as a nation. We must work together as a nation. We must build together. We must feel sympathy for the other, because that is what is required of Kenyan citizens. And when you move out to the streets, look at yourself as none else but as a citizen of Kenya. Kikuyus are very rich. What have they given you? What you have to do? What have you gotten for Kikuyus? Most likely, you are a lecturer, you are a senior professor at Nairobi University. The people you are working with there, that is your rich ground for harvest. When you help them, help comes back to you. Give and shall come back to you. Well shaken, pressed down together, running over, is the mission that you're going to get. And not from people, from God.
Finally, I want you to hold this book. It's the book you have recently published. And then tell us, maybe going through the table of content, at least 3 things that we can look forward to reading about in that book.
Thank you very much, Professor. This book, Out of a Storm, Echoes of Freedom, when I wrote it, I wanted the people who read it to know that it's possible. It's possible to have freedom. Echoes, when there are echoes of freedom, you hear the echoes, you hear the sound, but you don't step there. Why don't you step onto the freedom? Because you're in a storm. And we all go through many storms of our lives. I am quoting Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5, where God has taken us that has promised that I'll never leave you or forsake you. I'm also quoting Mark chapter 4, verse 37 to 40. When Jesus was in a storm, and the disciples woke him and said, Master, we perish. And he was able to calm the storm. I'm telling Kenyans, and I'm telling all those people who are going to read this book, it is possible. God is able, more than able, to calm every storm of our lives. So in this book, I brought out the area of growing up, because I was a child. I was born in 1953. Now I'm 72 years old. As a child, I grew under British colonial rule. I saw the good and the bad of it. In 1963, I was 10 years old when Kenya became independent, and 1 year later in 1964, it became a republic. I've been there. I've gone to school, I've gone to high school, I've gone to the University of Nairobi, I've worked for about 45 years. So I understand my country. And I know that although you have made some missteps, it is possible to correct. And that's what you give the one united country. I'm ending the book with let Kenyans arise in prosperity. Something else that I would like to mention as holding this book. I discovered in this book many things that I did not know. For instance, during the Mau Mau War, we used to have a white man called Waitina. I don't know whether you have heard.
Yes.
Even Kamaru sang for Waitina.
Yes.
Do you know who was Waitina?
No.
Roger Whittaker, the musician. I did my own research, and it is his book. That was corruption. Whittaker, Waitina. Yeah? That is the man who was a colonial DO and a DC in central Kenya. And he was moving on a motorcycle. And that man is the man who has composed a wonderful song, My Land is Kenya. It's here. You see it. Yet that's the man who was on the other opposite side, trying to be an administrator against the struggle for independence. And that's the man also who has sung this song about the slave trade caves in Shimoni. So he is a Kenyan. Although he passed on, his father had come here because of the climate. All that you find it here because I've done my research. So read the book, and maybe if you give me another chance to explain, expound, I'm more than willing, Professor, to come back here.
Good. Asante sana. That was a pretty good ending. I think what we'll do, yes, we will arrange then so that you can be able to pick up the story from 1969.
Yes.
That is as far as we went.
Yes.
Then so next time you can come and we talk about the 70s.
Yes.
You have talked a lot about what you are told by others because you are a small child.
Yes.
From 1969,
yes,
going forward,
I've experienced it.
You have experienced all that.
Yes.
Yeah? So,
yes.
And that experience, yes, is the story of the country.
Yes.
So we will arrange you come and talk to us about it.
Thank you very much, Professor. I'm delighted. I am happy, and I give a lot of accolades to how you started the Mau Mau Chronicles. I've watched them once or twice, and I'm glued to the television, to the YouTube, looking at it. Carry on. You are doing a good work.
Asante.
Don't help yourself. Help others. And what you give out will come back to you in good measure. Pressed down, well shaken, running over. I wish you all the best.
Asante sana.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Good, good.
Manyani Maximum Prison.